What's going on, guys? It's the Unhinged Engineer back with episode 2 of my GT OMSCS vlog. So like I described in the first episode of this vlog, I am taking the Georgia Tech Online Masters in Computer Science program at night, part-time, while I work. And I'm going to be doing this over the next 3 years to get my grad degree. I got my undergrad in aerospace engineering, and this is going to be in computer science. So super pumped about that. And I'm even more pumped about my first class, which, like I talked about in last episode, is AI for robotics. So I'm super grateful I got into this class. Not only is it like core for my specialization, which is robotics, but also it's recommended as like a good first class for various reasons that I'll kind of talk about once I have a better understanding of how true they are. But it's recommended as a good first class online. It's central to my, requirements, my specialization. It's generally a positively reviewed class, which is pretty cool. As a good first experience. So yeah, all things considered, I got pretty lucky this round of registration. So tomorrow, when I post this, which will be Sunday, January 12th, 2025, I will have officially concluded my first week of grad school. Yay! Not dead yet, still have all my limbs, but I do have a lot of stuff to talk about this episode. Less so related to the technical stuff, like the topics I'm going to be covering and the work I'm going to be doing, but more related to like a lot of firsts, a lot of big wins. And so I have them like kind of written out. Usually I try not to have notes for these vlogs, so I try to keep it informal, but there's just like a ton to cover. I want to make sure I hit everything. So yeah, the big firsts that I want to talk about were my first tuition payment, my first office hours, my first interactions with other students, and briefly my first round of work. To be discussed in more depth next episode. But yeah, let's get right into it. So my first tuition payment was honestly the biggest like pain in the ass this week, all things considered. Mostly for my fault. Like I made some mistakes. I didn't know what I was doing yet. And yeah, it wound up being more painful than it hopefully will be in the coming semesters. But basically, I'm fortunate that I have a benefit with my employer that they're paying for half my tuition. So like Georgia Tech, the whole program is very affordable. It's about like $7 or $8 grand. So $7 grand divided by 10 courses, $700 a class. And that's what I was like charged for this class, right? And so my employer will be covering $350 and I'll be covering $350 roughly. There's some like weird details in there that I can talk about some of the time. But point is, in order for GT to receive the money from my employer, because like at least in my case, my employer doesn't want to reimburse me later. They want to send the money directly to the school, being Georgia Tech here. In order for that process to happen, I have to send Georgia Tech a guarantee that my employer will eventually pay by a certain deadline, right? So I foolishly assumed that deadline was the deadline for tuition payment. In reality, it was like, I want to say about a month prior. I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember, but it was like about a month prior, right? So I was way over the deadline and I was only like less than a week out from tuition being due. So that was like a, oh crap moment, right? Basically, I wound up like calling up HR of my employer and like probably pissing off a couple people, getting the voucher signed and approved in time and then sent over to GT right away and then getting everything approved by them in time and then got everything submitted. So my employer paid for half, I paid for half. Worst case scenario, I probably would have just paid everything myself and tried to get reimbursed later, or if I couldn't get reimbursed, it's my fault and it's not the end of the world. But either way, everything got handled. And the important thing is that like next semester, I actually figured out how to do that properly, so I don't have to deal with this headache again. But yeah, I was talking to some coworkers about this, both who have taken grad classes themselves and also are putting kids through school, getting like similar tuition benefits. And it seems like this is an almost universal pain. So I got through it. I didn't die. It's just something to keep in mind if you're starting this program and you're having, you're fortunate enough to have a benefit too. But yeah, cool. So that's first tuition payment. Survived that. Now I'm going to talk about my first office hours. So it was 8:30 at night, which kind of sucks. Honestly, like when I was in undergrad, everything was like 11 a.m. and it was great because like you sleep until 10, you like throw on some pajamas. Well, I didn't walk around in pajamas too much. It was usually sweatpants, but throw on some sweatpants and like go to office hours, life's great. But like, because this is a program made for people who are like working or have families or whatever else, a lot of stuff is going to be at night and going to be late and going to be at weird times. I think as far as I can tell, like they don't touch the weekends because that's when a lot of people like actually work on their assignments. And that's when I'm going to be working on my assignments. But yeah, a lot of stuff's going to be at night and at these weird times. So I just got to get used to it. Either way, We didn't really talk about any work this office hours. It was mostly just getting to know like the professor and the TAs. All of them seemed super cool. There were a ton of TAs. I lost count. I literally lost count. I think it was more than 10, less than 20. So a lot of TAs. 2 of them were like head TAs. I don't really know what that means. I guess they're just in charge of the other ones. But either way, there were like a ton of TAs. Like when I was in undergrad, you were lucky if there were 5 TAs. And this had like maybe 15. I don't remember. But a lot of TAs. Everybody seemed nice. Everybody seemed very, very comfortable. And that was something super interesting to me. So I saw in an interview with Professor Joyner, who's like very, high up in the program and like runs a lot of stuff, an interview with him by Coolster Codes, which makes a ton of good content about GT OMSCS. If you're doing this program like me, I would highly, highly recommend watching these videos, and mine. But if, I saw that video and they talked about how a lot of TAs, because, the degree is long and the classes are super specialized and the TAs are paid, like a lot of TAs wind up TAing for a very long time. And actually, 4th point there, you can TA even once you're graduated. Like if you're trained and you're able to do the TAing, like they'll keep you around and don't care. I think, I can't remember how much they get paid, but point is, there were TAs who have been there for 3, 4, 5, 6 years TAing this class. And the professor, I think, has been doing it for over a decade, right? So everybody seemed very comfortable. I'm nervous. I'm still crapping my pants because it's my first grad class, but everybody was super chill. Nobody got worked up about anything, even when some students asked some kind of weird, borderline stupid questions. But it was just very relaxed atmosphere, which is pretty cool. In contrast, me, who's bugging for my first class. But anyway, and at the time was still bugging over the tuition stuff, but that's that aside. Nothing else really with the office hours. Next week will be my first technical office hours where we talk about the assignments and stuff we're going to be in the throes of, or I'm already in the throes of. But yeah, it was cool just to meet everybody, which is fun. But moving on from that, I had my first interactions with other students, which was super cool. So there were 2 kind of main points I'm going to talk about here. First of all was a post on edX, which is kind of just where you do discussions. It reminds me a lot of discussions pages in Canvas, so I don't really know why they use edX over Canvas. It seems like a lot of classes actually use edX in this program, but either way, edX seemed fine. And I had a question from the lectures, which I honestly was a little worried was a stupid question. And I know the right thing to think is there's no stupid questions, you should just ask, because somebody else might have the same one, but I get nervous, I don't want to look dumb. Either way, I was worried I would look dumb, but I went on a limb because I was well, there's no other way I'm going to get an answer to this question, so I just got to put myself out there. And I asked a question at 4 or 5 p.m. or something, and within an hour, I had 3 very helpful, long answers from students, and reading those, other students, not TAs, as far as I know, other students, and reading those along with rewatching a lecture that somebody was hey, you should rewatch this lecture, that'll help you, that talks about this. I solved my problem, which was super cool. There was a lot of hype on Reddit and whatnot about the community for this program and people really being active online. Because if you remember Zoom school back when I was in undergrad, during COVID, a lot of people just kind of sat there and drooled, me included at times. I was very active online, interacting with other people. I was kind of just stuck in my room. But there was a lot of hype about this community helping each other and being engaged and that kind of stuff. And, granted, there's probably going to be ups and downs. There's probably going to be some classes where I get crickets from edX posts, but, it doesn't seem like it's going to be this one, which is super cool. The 3 super helpful answers from students got me through my problem and I was on my merry way. Awesome. And now I also feel indebted to help somebody else, which I haven't gotten a chance to do yet, but hopefully I can soon. So that was super cool. And then as for the Discord, a student made an unofficial Discord. I think somebody else made an unofficial WhatsApp, but I honestly don't have WhatsApp set on my phone, so I haven't joined yet. But yeah, somebody set up an unofficial Discord. I joined and I chatted with some people about stuff in the hobbies and interest channel of that Discord server. And people were pretty nice. I talked about hobbies a little bit. I was also like that lame guy who brings up work in the, at the party. So, I mentioned what I do, and then people talk about what they did, and there's a really wide array of backgrounds, which is cool. And actually, I think some people even jumped in a voice channel, which is cool. I was hanging out with my family at the time, so I didn't. But there were people who literally hopped in a voice call and like just talked and chatted, it seemed. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, again, just like exciting to see budding community in the class. We'll see how much people actually commit to that and like interact with each other throughout the semester. But it's a promising start, so that's cool. But yeah, and then that's kind of all the extracurricular stuff I want to talk about. But this is an actual class, believe it or not. And so I did start my first round of work and watching lectures. So I went through like a basic problem set. It was called like problem set 0. Didn't count for anything. It was just like using Gradescope. I've used Gradescope before, so honestly, I don't even know why I bothered. But it was like basic Python and Gradescope. And then, yeah, I started watching the lectures for problem set 1, and I'm about like 3/4 of the way through problem set 1 right now. So the problem sets honestly seem pretty chill, and that's reflected in like how they're all graded, like relative to the projects. And again, I'll talk about this like more logistic technical stuff with the class next episode. But yeah, they seem pretty light as of now. What seems a lot more intense is the project. So the first project is on Kalman filters, which is a topic I'm super, super excited about. I like learned a little bit about it and like did some stuff on paper for an undergrad class in aerospace, but I never really got to like implement it myself from scratch in code. And there's a pretty sophisticated like project setup with a little visualizer and everything. I'll talk about that in future episodes. But the point is, the projects seem a lot more intense than the problem sets, and the problem sets basically just parrot the lectures. And there actually are like lectures with solutions on Canvas that I can just like look at the solution and put it in. So yeah, those have actually helped for some of the solutions I couldn't get myself, like just trying naturally. But yeah, it doesn't seem like they're trying to hammer you on the problem sets is my main point. It does seem like they're trying to hammer you on the projects, which is fine by me because that's a topic I want to get hammered on, so I can really understand it, which is cool. Okay, that about covers everything for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I'm the Unhinged Engineer. I make content about software and aerospace engineering, drones, autonomy, aerospace and defense, all that kind of stuff. If you're into it, you'll like this channel. I'm also vlogging my grad school journey. So I'm going to be doing this program at night while I work full time. It's going to take me about 3 years, fingers crossed, as long as everything goes according to plan. And yeah, there's going to be lots of ups, lots of downs. And if you're interested in following that journey, also like, comment, and subscribe. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you next episode.